Welcome to Nerds Amalgamated, a podcast that covers the latest events in science, pop culture, and gaming.
I'm the professor, aspiring game developer, sci-fi aficionado, and completely and undeniably a geek trying to take over the world. I'll be breaking down the news from tech to gaming.
I am the DJ, a humble nerd, a big weeb,
and a watcher from the halls of the multiverse.
Just kidding. Anyways, I'll be breaking down all things comics to movies to anime.
Join us and stay hydrated as we quench you with witty banter, unintentionally hilarious hot takes, and trivia more fun than a night at the pub, courtesy of Nerds Amalgamated.
And welcome to another episode of Nerds Amalgamated. How's it going there, Professor?
You don't sound any better when you try to lower your voice.
Really?
No, you sound like you're trying too hard.
Yeah. Anyways, this
Try
episode,
less hard.
I'm trying less hard, and yet you're making a mockery out of it.
No, a mockery would be, I'm the DJ and I talk like this. That's mockery.
Uh-huh. Anyways, this week we're talking about the modders deleting their Steam accounts at a protest, an update on the Direwolf Resurrection and Peter Jackson's newest project, and have superhero movies ruined the comics? The short answer would be yes, in my opinion, but more will be discussed later on. And before we go to our main topic, how are we going with the Stop Killing Games signatures there, Professor?
I don't have the number to hand. Let me just pull that up. At over 1.3 million signatures.
Wow. Because if I recall, during this week, they also the European lobby group have released a response paper as well to the whole "Why Stop Killing Games" movement is a bad idea.
Yeah, and it's more rubbish that's already been addressed.
We'll put the link on the show notes for you guys to have a read and laugh at. But yeah, Professor, speaking of more rubbish and whatnot, why are modders deleting their Steam accounts?
Well, it's just a one modder, actually.
Okay.
There's a modder who goes by the name Chaldean, who created a mod known as Special K, which fixes a whole bunch of different games. And Special K has basically written a manifesto saying that after 20 years... So did I just call him Special K?
Yes, he called it Special K.
Chaldean has written a manifesto about why he's deleted his... Or her, I'm not actually sure what Chaldean goes by. Why they've deleted their Steam account after 20 years. They say that they've been a gamer since having to log into BBSs to get downloads, and DRM being in physical game manuals.
Oh, okay. So for the uninitiated, Special K. So it's a modifying framework. I'm looking at a PC gaming wiki, and they're saying here, Special K is an extensive game modifying framework allowing for various forms of in-depth tweaking of a game.
Yeah, and from what I've read, I haven't used it myself, but it looks like it's mostly for Japanese games. So that's presumably where Chaldean has decided to focus their energy. But DJ, you sounded surprised when I said DRM was in the manual. Do you not remember those days?
No, I never remembered those days when DRM was in the manual.
Right up through until the internet became widespread, you'd get DRM in the manual where you'd have like codes written in the manual. It would ask you to... One that comes to mind is June 2. Would ask you, which I think was 1993, would ask you to look up the stats for a particular unit in the manual and fill out the stats for that unit to get past the second or third mission. So you could do a trial, but once you'd done that, you'd have to pull out the manual and actually figure out what you were doing.
Is that in the form of Securom and Starforce? Or
no, it's just a very simple check. Just checking, have you entered the correct values for the stats of this unit?
Okay.
Like it will ask you, is this tank got medium or heavy armor?
Huh. Okay.
There was one of the Monkey Island games had a cellophane code wheel, and you had to line up the codes and then read through. used red cellophane to make it more difficult to photocopy. So you had to line up codes and come up with a password that would unlock the game for.
Okay, I've checked this out. When you mentioned the cellophane code wheel, someone made an interactive version of that. Dial a pirate.
Yeah, so that's less useful as DRM now that it's around.
Hmm.
And Steam has become the de facto DRM for many games because even though the inbuilt Steam DRM isn't regarded as being particularly good, it's good enough to basically require you to have a Steam account with the game registered to the account to allow you to play the game. Of course, there's other ones like the Nuvo and so on that basically require internet connection to work. Anyway, Caldean was upset when Half-Life 2 came out and required Steam for DRM and patching, because at the time the DRM was just like a question or a CD key or something simple like that. And basically, this all boils down to Caldean doesn't feel like Valve is holding at their end of the bargain to keep games accessible, which is tangentially related to Stop Killing Games, because every game on my Steam account that I own, I can still download now. But the
Yeah,
key issue here in the manifesto starts with issues with Steam. And specifically, the first issue Caldean brings up is that in 2002, it ran on Windows 98. And since then, we've gone through all the versions of Windows to require you to run the Steam on Windows 10. So you cannot take your legacy hardware from the days Steam came out, install Steam on it, and run a game that way.
what is Steam's stance on the Stop Killing Games ordeal? By the way,
They
have they
haven't commented.
no comment?
Not yet. Technically unrelated, really unrelated to Stop Killing Games because it's about access to the game rather than keeping the game playable. Games on Steam can be taken off the store so that you cannot purchase them, but you can always re-download them. And I've got a couple of games there, mostly a couple of dead games where the servers have been shut down and you can no longer play them. But Steam also, as a DRM client, has made promises that if in the future anything happens that would cause Steam to go away, they have a contingency that would allow you to continue playing your games. Now that's a bit problematic based on what Caldean has found, which is that the the system requirements for Steam are increased as from time to time, and it locks you out of using old hardware unless you're willing to go and download the game on one computer and then transfer it across and hope that there's no DRM, which is possible with some games. Some games release on Steam with no DRM, don't. Some release with DRM and cannot be run without Steam running. But because of Steam dropping support for the older hardware, you can no longer run it, and you can no longer play games that you purchased on the system that you purchased them for.
Yeah.
Which, yes, I agree, is a shitty way for things to go.
What's the what's the reaction like ever since that manifesto has been released? Like, have there been open agreement or
Yeah, most people I've seen have agreed with it.
yeah.
Because, Caldean also compares it to pre-Steam, where you'd buy a game from any store and then log into a BBS or FTP site, basically a file download website, and then you would download the patches, and it doesn't matter if the store you bought the game from is even still exists. So you could buy a game from EB Games, they could go bankrupt, and you'd still be able to download the patches. The problem is when the developer decides to not provide the patches, and you can no longer gain access to them, which is the issue that Steam solved. So I personally think, from reading this manifesto, that Special K has a point, but they're praising the wrong people for solving them, because the next point is that they say that you must consider whether the store is going to continue receiving patches, whether the store is going to continue supporting your hardware and software, and whether your friends online bought the game from the same store as you did. Brackets. Thank you, Epic, for partially addressing this. I don't think Epic's addressed this at all.
Really? How can you tell?
Well, there are games on Epic that aren't on the latest patch, that don't have crossplay with Steam releases. There was a dark time where for a few games you did require all of your friends to have bought the game on the same store. But yeah, I don't think it's Epic that has been responsible for fixing that. And I don't like Epic, to be clear. I think that they are a particularly anti-consumer company. Their CEO spends all his time complaining about Steam being a monopoly, then provides an inferior competitor and gets upset when people don't use it, and then tries to buy them out with exclusives and free games.
The only reason why Epic is a quote unquote competitor to Steam is because of Fortnite. Come on, like if Fortnite wasn't Epic's property, Epic would have died like decades ago. Point.
Well, that would be hard because Fortnite's only been out for like 10 years in its current form. Before that, it was going to be an entirely different game. Then PUBG came out and they were like, we want some of that money. And they came up with Fortnite Battle Royale, which is basically taking the assets that they were going to use for the Fortnite Save the World game, which was a more like build a base and defend it, which is where the fort part of the name comes from.
Ah.
Yeah, it was like build a base and defend it from monsters at night, a bit like Minecraft.
Or every other generic tower defense mobile game would be.
Yeah. Anyway, back on topic. Chaldean was a Steamworks partner and had access to the development forums,
Hmm.
and says that Valve were refusing to listen when people brought up issues with the Steam client, which are mostly input related. And by the end of his time working with Valve, their time working with Valve, they were working around bugs in Steam and not bothering to report them because there was no hope of getting them fixed, and that all of the problems are from Valve's code, not from the open source projects that Steam is built on. And I'm interested to know more about this because really the Steam input is a absolute blessing for being able to use controllers on games that aren't designed for using controllers. Unfortunately, they haven't written a whole lot about this section, but they point out that games have DualSense support, so PlayStation can support on Epic, but X input only on Steam. And they say that the Steam release of Stalker 2 had advanced Xbox One controller features removed after a patch, but I assume you can still get that support from other stores. That's interesting to me. That's the first time I've ever heard of that happening. And Chaldean says, I buy games from Epic, Microsoft Store, and GOG because those stores have no bloated features unrelated to DRM crammed down your throat.
Huh.
Well, yes and no. I don't trust Microsoft Store to still be around in years
Nah,
as
I
much
don't
as I
need
trust
either.
Steam.
Yeah.
I trust Epic Game Store to still be around in 10 years. GOG is another maybe.
GOG is just Humble Bundle without the charity element to it.
No, GOG is a great service.
Hmm.
GOG takes old games that don't work on modern computers and fixes them up so that they work on modern computers.
Isn't that
They're
what Night
actually redeveloping some of the games with mods and stuff to make them actually work.
isn't that what Night Drive do though, in a
No,
sense?
they do full remakes.
Ah, okay. Okay.
They have their own engine and they basically do a full remake of the game.
Okay.
GOG will mod the game to make it run. And that
Uh,
includes stuff like removing DRM from outdated DRM. And the other reason I like GOG is that when you buy a game on GOG, they give you the installer as a separate download. So you can use the GOG store to buy a game, download the installer, put it on a USB stick, plug it into another, and install it there without being connected.
and for anyone, it's not Night Drive, it's Night Dive. Sorry.
I misheard. No one would have known if you hadn't
Fair.
pointed it out yourself. So Chaldean goes on to say stores must only provide DRM and anything else should be optional. So they shouldn't create Steam input because the only way to disable Steam input is to hack Steam.
That's a
And
big no-no.
yeah. And they say the Steam import API is an abomination, and many games that use it have fallback code to use other APIs. But Valve blocks access to those APIs as part of Steam's initialization. And patching that out is considered tampering with the DRM. Now, this is the next claim in the manifesto is one that I really, really. They say that in lieu of the commitment by Valve to keep Steam free of system requirement, business models like Ubisoft Plus, EA Access, and Game Pass represent far greater value to consumers.
Really? No, I don't believe that.
Yeah, and they say, I would rather pay a fraction of the price to play a game for 1 month than pretend digitally distributed games have the lifespan of a boxed physical product. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
No, yeah, I
Never
agree with you
use those. The only reason those subscriptions are so cheap is because they're trying to get people onto them, and then they're going to jack the price up as soon as they've run the competition out of town. Like, if you think that Steam is a monopoly and that's bad, letting Game Pass be a monopoly is even worse because then you won't even own the games at all. You won't be able to keep them once the store decides to get rid of them.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people realize that, do they?
No, I don't think so.
But
I
that's
think a lot of people see a decent price and think, yay, this is cheaper than buying the game. I'm going to subscribe. And it's like Netflix. The service with Netflix has gotten worse and worse over the past decade. They've started to put ads in the cheap tier. And if you buy a show through a store, like let's compare digital store to digital store. If I buy a show through iTunes, then iTunes doesn't really have any DRM. But if I buy a show through iTunes, I can re download it at any time. As far as I'm aware, nothing has ever been pulled from it. But subscriptions have the chance to make your experience worse whenever they want.
Yeah, and say if the show that you downloaded on iTunes goes on Netflix and and comes back more expensive after the first go around, that's nuts.
Well, then the final statements in the manifesto are that Valve lies about what happens to your account.
Oh,
Apparently, Valve claims that when you delete your account, your posts will remain and be attributed to deleted. But when Caldean decided to destroy their account, 50,000 posts and 30 guides, and some of the guides had shared attribution with other accounts, so there are other authors just completely gone.
oh shit! So if he deletes his account, his others also get affected by the deletion.
Yeah, so whatever guides and stuff that Caldean had posted are just gone now. They go on to
Wow.
say the biggest obstacle to game ownership on PC is the store you licensed it from, not developers.
Oh.
So this one, I think GOG is the best option for avoiding the store. But the issues with GOG, they do great work on old games. Their track record on newer games is a bit rocky because some developers will stop releasing patches for a game on GOG for some unknown reason. And there's a whole thread on GOG that is basically these games are at a different version than the Steam release. But I agree. If you buy a game through Steam, you should be able to choose which version you download. And there should be what I like about GOG is that you can install it on an internet connection. You can't do that with Steam. And you can also take it and install it on a computer without installing the GOG store at all. But naturally, a lot of developers aren't into that because there's literally no DRM on GOG. So, their final point, Valve is right about piracy being a service issue. Their service inevitably requires it. Basically, they analyze the argument by saying that you don't really own software that self updates, and they recommend subscribing to a monthly subscription, which I am completely against, or buying from Microsoft Store to get cross platform.
Yeah, I think the whole concept of owning stuff nowadays. It's becoming a foreign concept. I mean, remember the good old Adobe subscription stuff
Yeah,
payments?
we can blame Adobe for all this. Adobe,
Yeah,
and that's
fucking
why I
Adobe.
refuse to use Adobe. Also, the fact that I can do anything you can do in Adobe in FOSS.
Or Da Vinci.
Yeah, I use DaVinci for video editing, Audacity for
Audio
um,
editing.
audio, and GIMP for photos. Now, I know that GIMP doesn't have all of the features Adobe has, but it has all of the features I've ever wanted. So I hear a lot of people say, I want to switch, but I'm too used to the way Adobe works. I think if someone could make a skin for GIMP that was basically just the Photoshop layout, then a lot more people would give it a.
So, given all that he had said, do you reckon this will give a ripple effect to the modding community? Like, as a hey, you know what? He's right. I'll also delete my Steam account out of protest. That kind of dealio. Are we going to see a Spartacus moment?
No, I don't think so. I don't think people are dissatisfied enough with Steam for this to make much difference. Like, I agree with some of Caldean's points, but I don't think people are that dissatisfied with Steam. I think Valve has done a very good job of walking the tightrope of keeping people happy enough to not.
I mean, they only just recently, Steam recently did the Steam summer sale, so that would make a lot of people happy.
Yeah, but it is worth noting for all the good Valve do, they did have to be dragged kicking and screaming into allowing runs,
Oh yeah, yeah.
forced into it by the Australian government.
I'm seeing also it's also interesting while the comments on on the Git is it GitHub? No, it's not GitHub, is
Yeah,
it?
GitHub.
On GitHub it's saying all supporting his decision. I'm looking at Reddit and on the r slash PC gaming and some of the comments are saying yeah it's cool. Some are saying like what an ass hat and like it really divided on this.
Yeah,
Like the top comment
not
was
surprised.
yeah, the top comment was from the 1% commenter was the irony of complaining about Steam's issues, which are valid concerns, while big upping EGS and Microsoft's store, on the other hand, is certainly not lost on me. Caldean is a great modder, but you can look up his history on the Steam forums. Let's just say it ain't pretty.
Okay, I don't know what that means. I'm not going to look into it now because recording. But yeah, Steam is the best of a bad bunch. It has so much good going for it that it outweighs the bad.
Another commenter wrote, classic modder ego meltdown, which the reply was, but he's the main character.
Well,
uh,
would you call Ross Scott the main character for having a meltdown over games being killed?
uh,
That's a thought terminating cliche. Caldean isn't saying I'm the main character here. They're saying I have these issues with Steam and I've chosen to walk away. If they were the main character, they'd be demanding Steam fix it and pander to them specifically. Like calling someone the main character should be an insult used for a very different kind of crime.
yeah, yeah. Someone also wrote, as someone who's apparently similar age to Kay, this is an absolutely ridiculous statement. Anyone who honestly feels this way either has intensely rose-colored glasses or is so disconnected from reality that the only explanation is severe mental health issues. I have no idea how he was able to see the screen to write code with his head shoved all the way up his ass.
Ouch. Yeah, I'd be like, Caldean has been around for a bit longer than I have. I'd be interested to know what more about what it was like back in the day. But yeah, Steam got where it is by being better than the competition, which wasn't hard considering the competition Steam has had for 90% of its existence.
Yeah. So, and someone also did point out the whole I buy games from Epic Game Store, Microsoft Store. These stores are bloated without any good functionalities for the users. Is Epic paying this? And with another one replying, I admit I did also briefly wonder if he had gotten a job at Epic. But with with what Chaldean said in these comments, do you reckon how do you think Gabe will react to this? If you were Gabe Newell and you saw this post, what would your reaction be like?
I'd
Besides the
buy
odd
another yacht.
buying another yacht.
I mean, he's got the money to do it.
Yeah,
And he's
that's
already
true.
got like three of them.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like I'm saying, Gabe is a billionaire, and how many of the people who built Steam and Valve with Gabe are billionaires? Not that
Oh,
many.
they're not that many.
Yeah, so I'm not saying Gabe's a bad person directly. I'm just saying he's not a saint.
I would just say he's a complicated man and be done with it.
You can say that. But yeah, without Valve, gaming on Linux would be a long way off still.
Yeah.
Like Wine was a thing before Valve, but Valve gave them the injection of cash to help and then forked it and created Proton, which is bloody incredible. There are games that are out where Proton, so you run the Windows version through Proton rather than the Linux version because the Linux version hasn't been updated in a decade and the Windows version runs better than the Linux version does.
Well, let's just hope this whole message will get more updates on that post as much as we're getting an update on the de-extincted direwolves. So
Again, they haven't been de-extincted. They've just created something that is functionally indistinguishable.
Fair enough, fair enough. So, for those curious, the direwolves, named funnily enough Romulus and Remus, they now weigh over 90 pounds, already 20% larger than grey wolves at the same developmental stage, while demonstrating some pretty intriguing pack dynamic habits that provide insights to ancient direwolf social organizations. So yeah, at over 90 pounds, so they're tracking 20 to 30% above average grey wolf development data, confirming that the genetic engineering successfully restored the direwolf's characteristic larger frame. Oh man. And according to Matt James, the Colossal's chief animal officer, they're heading to their first vet visit for blood work and CT scans to monitor skeletal development and overall health. Can you imagine being the vet for that?
Here, doggy!
and then, and then 10 seconds later, God, it hurts, they're biting me. Please stop. It's like, Helen, I need a bigger chew toy for this.
Actually, there's a YouTuber, well, streamer really, Soviet Womble. He recently told a story on one of his streams about a vet visit for his dog, where they started off sedating her before the night before. They gave her some sedatives to calm her down, and they were supposed to give her more in the morning, and she was completely out of it until the moment the needle came out. And as soon as
What?
the needle for the vaccination came out, she was wild. And Womble asked, "Is there a stronger dose we can give her next time?" And the vet said, "This is a strong dose."
Far out. But yeah, Matt James said this, highlighting the comprehensive medical monitoring ensuring the dire wolves' continued health and proper development. These veterinary examinations provide quantitative validation that the genetic reconstruction has successfully recreated direwolf characteristics. The rapid growth also reflects the metabolic efficiency and enhanced nutritional processing capabilities that enable their ancestors to thrive in challenging Ice Age environments. Their development patterns confirm that the ancient genetic variants are functioning as intended, producing animals that match expectations based on fossil evidence and genetic analysis. So yeah, and they also talk about the diets, where according to the update, they have moved on their evolving diet, munching daily on high quality kibble, bones, chunk meat, organ meat, and soon enough, full carcasses to mimic natural wild feeding. Boy, I hate to be the hate to be the guy feeding that thing.
Yeah.
It's like, here, doggy, nice doggy. Here's some nice kibble. And the dog and the doggy looks at him with the thinking that he's a bone or something like. Hey, doggy, what's with that deranged look?
Yeah, maybe there was a reason they went extinct in the first place.
The comprehensive nutritional approach ensures that the direwolves develop the physical capabilities and behavioral patterns necessary for their roles as apex predators, even in their protected environment. This careful management reflects the integration of scientific monitoring with practical animal husbandry. The upcoming introduction of Khaleesi, the female direwolf pup. Oh my god, what is with these Game of Thrones names? God damn it! Did you understand why Khaleesi was such a bad name in the end? Yeah, the female direwolf pup will add new complexity to pack dynamics that are already proven fascinating to observe. These roles may shift again with the upcoming introduction of Khaleesi, but only time will tell. The update notes highlighting how pack structures may evolve as the group composition changes. So two guys and one girl. That's going to be a fun time. How you reckon it's
Well,
going to?
I'm interested in more details about the pack dynamics. If
Oh
there's
yeah.
something epigenetic coming through there, or not epigenetic, but something genetic, and they can prove that that's how they would have actually behaved and not being part of not because they've been hand raised in a lab. I'd be interested to know, yeah, what the difference between that and a modern wolf is.
Well, with the social dynamics, what was interesting was Remus is emerging as the pack leader through quiet observation and strategic thinking rather than aggressive dominance displays, suggesting that direwolf leadership may have valued intelligence and tactical awareness over brute force. According to the update, Remus is stepping into the alpha role with quiet observation and strategic thinking, while Romulus, ever the frontrunner, is embracing his new beta energy. This behavioral development provides unprecedented insight into how direwolf packs may have organized themselves with leadership based on cognitive capabilities rather than simple physical dominance. The brothers' social interaction demonstrates remarkable behavioral flexibility and intelligence. Rather than engaging in competitive conflicts, they've established a cooperative hierarchy that allowed both animals to thrive while maintaining pack cohesion. These behavioral patterns likely reflect ancient direwolf social strategies that enabled effective coordination during complex hunting scenarios. Damn, they're more mature than us humans when we deal with conflict.
Yeah. Although the ability to rip out somebody's throat when they upset you is going to do something like that.
Yeah. So the data collected from ongoing monitoring contributes to scientific understanding of evolution, genetics, and animal behavior, while providing practical information for conservation applications. The scientific value of these observations extends far beyond the Direwolf project to inform broader questions about extinction, adaptation, and species restoration. So, all in all, do you reckon we have perfected cloning
No,
now? No?
not even close.
Not even close?
Yep.
On what grounds?
There's a whole bunch of factors that determine what genes are expressed. And the fact that this cloning relies on a surrogate mother who has different mitochondrial DNA to a original direwolf mother, you're not going to get something that is exactly the same as a direwolf genetically. Then there's also the nature versus nurture.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They're going to be raised by keepers or in a pack with
Captivity.
regular wolves.
Yeah.
They're not going to be raised by dire wolves and learn these social strategies and hunting techniques that dire wolves would have used.
Yeah, it's the whole captivity thing, hey? Like, once the animals in captivity get released into the wild, they don't really know how to survive outside the wild because
Sometimes, yeah.
because their whole life was living in captivity.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole ethics debacle as well in terms of what was it? What's what the the religious aspect of it. That's what I think about.
Ah, yeah, that's not really ethics. That's more, some people think cloning is wrong because of religion. Some people think cloning is right because of religion. It's more of
Yeah,
just an
yeah, yeah. Although speaking of arguments and whatnot, there is a new species that will be even though the direwolf's de-extinction quote unquote was successful, uh th- there's going to be more arguments with Peter Jackson and his new project, which is to de-extinct the world's largest bird,
do it.
which is known as the Maurus.
Do it. I want to see giant birds flying around plucking people off.
So the giant for those for the uninitiated, giant Mao was the world's largest bird, up to 11 feet high and 500 pounds. A peaceful plant-eating bird that lived on the edge of forests in New Zealand's South Islands. Then the island's first settlers, Polynesian peoples from the South Pacific, arrived in the late 1200s. Within 150 years, the Mao was gone, hunted to extinction. So now Maori descendants of those long ago Polynesian settlers are trying to bring the giant Mao and 8 smaller Mao
They're
species
trying to say
back.
moa.
Moa, yeah, Moa, sorry. The Moa. Yeah, 8 smaller Moa species. And they're partnering with Peter Jackson, of all people, Peter Jackson.
He's got the money.
Uh-huh.
He wants to create fell beasts. It's his prerogative.
So yeah, he's so Peter Jackson and Colossal Biosciences, the same lab that that de-extincted the direwolves. Yeah, so it's a partnership between those. Now the Ngai Tahu Research Center at the South Islands University of Canterbury will lead the research to de-extinct the giant moa or Mao. I can't pronounce. I'm gonna get annoyed. I'm gonna get like comments on Discord and Facebook about this.
You
The
will.
giant, the giant moa on behalf of the South Islands Maori iwi tribe of the same name, working with technologies to support from Colossal, in which Jackson is an investor. Oh, so that's why he's got involved. The center will
Wow, you
also
could have found that out if you'd read the article before you came to the podcast.
uh-huh. Anyways, the center will collect related genetic material from 8 smaller moa species, some of which were small as a turkey, said Senate Director Mike Stevens, an Ngai Tahu Iwi member. The material will be safeguarded in banks of vital biological information about an island whose remoteness and size have made it one of the planet's most biodiverse places. So, what do you reckon of this idea?
Go ahead.
Go on.
Look, giant
Ima-
birds are cool.
Imagine if they come to Australia though.
Yeah, they're bigger than the cassowary.
So are we going to see the next emu war at this point?
Nah, we just drop a nuke on New Zealand. No one would notice it was gone.
Oh. So what are the challenges though you reckon these guys will have?
Same as the challenges with the direwolves.
But it's a different climate though, isn't it? Like New Zealand's
Yeah, but
climate is
cloning is still the same problem.
Yeah, apparently, they said here de-extincting birds is a different process biologically than dealing with mammals, such as the direwolf. Lamb acknowledged though Colossal is already working with Australian academics to preserve a number of large endangered bird species, and none of it is what's seen the long string of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies, including one released this past weekend that focused on reviving dinosaurs, giant reptiles that have been extinct for tens of millions of years instead of a few hundreds or thousands.
And to be fair, they had even more problems bringing the dinosaurs back because DNA degrades over time. It has a half life of, I think, about 600 years. Was that right? I don't remember. Don't
Yeah.
quote me on that. But it breaks down over time. So in the book, they had to clone the dinosaurs with frog DNA to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, and if I recall, cloning with frog DNA it was also a bad idea, especially when when the frog was pregnant.
Yeah, well,
When
the dinosaurs were able to change gender because they used gender changing frogs or change sex, whatever.
mm,
The word I'm looking for is they also had a problem where the computers that monitored the park were programmed to do a count of the dinosaurs so they could tell if any dinosaurs were missing. But it would stop counting when it got to the maximum number of dinosaurs they'd cloned.
oh shit.
And yeah, there's a great scene in the book. So they're like, what if we counted more? And the computer adds up all the dinosaurs and it's like, ha, you're screwed. And they go and blow up dinosaurs with rocket launchers. You should read the book. It's good.
Why did they put that in the movie? I have no idea.
I know, right?
Oh.
The book is so much darker than the.
By the way, the Lamb guy that we're talking about, that's the CEO of Colossal Biosciences, Ben Lamb. And Ben Lamb also says that We've never done a project in this structure before, according to Lamb, pointing to the lead role of the region's indigenous people in guiding and running the research. As we go along this journey, we look at us, Colossal, as a partner in such a in a support vehicle for their vision of a right of return for the Moa and potentially other species conservation work that the Ngai Tahu Research Center and the tribe might want us to focus on. So yeah, apparently this is why Peter Jackson has been away for movies for a while now. They also and to finally and the last two paragraphs are interesting notes. So, but should the de-extinction work pan out as hoped, resulting birds wouldn't be released into the wild, Jackson and other hasten to add. Instead, any de-extincted
That's what they
moas.
said in Jurassic Park too.
Yeah, look how that panned out. Instead of any de-extincted moas, would be kept on an ecological preserved, isolated from the many threats of modern life from cars on down. That's similar to what happened with the direwolf pups, which had already doubled in size, according to reports, and live on a 2,000-acre enclave in North America, whose location has not been publicly divulged. I like it when they proudly say that, but you know that somewhere along the line, some sample is gonna escape into the wild and do something crazy. But at least it's not as crazy as superhero movies. I'm going with these terrible segues, aren't I?
Yep.
So you're not a superhero movie fan, are you, Professor?
No.
No. So this is from an opinion article at comicbook.com, and the author wrote at the starting sentence, type Spider-Man or Batman in your favorite search engine or AI chatbot, and the top results will most likely reference the movie versions of these heroes rather than their original and true source, the humble comic book. This is largely due to the fact that most people's understanding of superheroes come from their portrayals in movies and televisions and not from comics. Today, the superhero is first and foremost a screen character. As a result, since users are most likely to recognize and click on links related to films or TV shows, those types of results have gradually come to dominate search ranking. You reckon that's the same case with Doctor Who as well, in your end of town, and same with June as well?
How could it be the same case with Doctor Who? Doctor Who has always been a TV thing.
I know, but then there are always like there would be novels and there would be novels and short
Then
stories
you'd be
when they're
talking
about him.
about the novels being more popular than the TV show, which has
Okay,
never
yeah.
happened. So no, you can't compare them.
Okay. Bad example. How about Dune?
Yeah, but June's a fairly accurate portrayal of the book, so
Yeah, but I get the June movies are accurate portrayal of the book, but people go to the movies rather than the book for how, if I want to learn about June, like where would you go first? You would go to directly to the source material, wouldn't you?
you go to Wikipedia.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair. You go to Wikipedia, but which wiki do you go to? Do you go to the movies wiki or do you go to the book
I
wiki?
go to Wikipedia.
I know you
There's
go.
only one Wikipedia, DJ.
I know. I'm trying to say is which one do you go to? Do you go to the movies?
The Wikipedia.
I get that, Professor. I'm trying to say which Wikipedia page do you go to? Do you go to the Wikipedia page about the movie, or do you go to the Wikipedia page about the book? That's what I'm trying to point out here.
No, you started off saying that there were different wikis,
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I
which is the
grant.
case, but those are different wikis, not different Wikipedias.
Okay, but okay, anyways, semantics aside, which one would you go to first?
The book,
The book Wikipedia page.
yes.
Okay. So unfortunately, because of the superhero movies, they don't. You only go to the movies Wikipedia page, rather the movie characters Wikipedia page, rather than the books Wikipedia page. That's what they're trying to point out here, and they're saying that and there's a shift in influence in terms of superhero movies have taken over. The comics is a primary medium shaping superhero narratives. The cinematic universes created by Marvel and DC now define characters and storylines, often superseding the original comic books version. Major studios like Warner Brothers and Disney, after acquiring DC and Marvel, have reoriented comic book publishing to align with their film and TV strategies. This has led to comics being used more as a source material for movies than an independent storytelling medium. Would you agree on that?
Yeah.
And that has also impacted on the comic book's quality and creativity in terms of storytelling has changed, and that's a trend towards simpler plots and more action designed to mirror film adaptations and appeal to broader audiences. This shift often comes at the expense of a deeper, more nuanced storytelling that longtime comic fans value. I mean, I could see it. Yeah, they're right. I mean, if you read the Marvel movies, Marvel comic nowadays. Nowadays, it's just all like less speeches, less like grandiose quotes, and more explosions. And man, there are more explosions in a Michael Bay film. And while movies are in the driver's seat, publishers are less likely to invest in experimental or unconventional stories, especially those featuring lesser known characters. Editorial decisions are
Which is
increasingly.
funny because the first round of Marvel movies are about lesser known characters.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Editorial decisions are increasingly influenced by what might work on screen rather than what serves the comics medium best. Do you see that same case with June as well?
No, I don't think so.
Don't think so. Even with the TV series that are out now, like in relation with June,
I
like
haven't
June.
watched those.
You haven't watched those. I've seen bits and pieces of that, and some of them are like, "Oh, that's very interesting." Some are like, "Ooh, why'd you?" And because of the movie's success, the comic book sales have not seen a major boost, and they've struggled with declining readership as a result. And new readers are often interested in the movie tie-ins than in exploring the broader, more complex comic universe. You see that as well with June as well? I know I'm asking a lot of June related questions because that's the only thing I can relate to with June in your end.
No, I don't think so.
Nah, okay. So in conclusion, yeah, oh, actually, not before the in conclusion. There is a with the future of the comics. While the A-list characters might remain dominant, like Batman, Spider-Man, and other top heroes, lesser known or experimental titles are less likely to thrive unless they have a TV or movie potential. And unfortunately, the comics are unlikely to disappear, but their roles would change. The medium would risk losing its unique voice and creative freedom as a result. So, yeah. Which I think it sucks, though. I mean, like,
Everything's becoming safer. You really just got to go to the indies these days to get interesting experimental stuff.
yeah, but sometimes for indies, you like the companies that do the indie comics as well. They also have their own ideas, like ideals in terms of, okay, I want this character to do this certain role. I want this character like it. They also have their own check boxes as well. Like while they have like their own, they can experiment on storylines. Depends on who's selling their books as well. That's my point. Like if it's like an ultra violent story, for example, Kickstarter will go, nah, we're not gonna sell that book. That book will not sell. Are you kidding me?
Well, there's always been the case. There's unless you self-publish, there's always someone telling you that you have to make something that'll sell.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I agree with you there. Uh, anyways, we're back after a small break and be back with the shoutouts and wacky movie. We would like to let you guys know this episode was sponsored by Res. Good old Res. What do they do, Professor?
Maintains your mental concentration and focus, relieves weariness and fatigue, decreases mental and cognitive fatigue, and reduces eye strain. All in a convenient sachet of powder,
And
which you make into a drink. Don't try to taste it. Well, maybe do try to take it without water if you want. You'll probably choke.
And we'd like to let you know that with each purchase of Res, it contributes to the Nerds Amalgamated podcast. We get a cut of every can we sell. So if you find a cool way to support the show, just buy a can of Res. Use the code NERDS at the checkout. to get a great 10% discount. And we'd like to thank you guys so much for supporting the show and for Rez for continually supporting us. So Rez, game the game. On to our shoutouts. On the 7th of July 2025, it's the 25th anniversary of the launch of PS1. The PS1, often stylized as PS capital P capital S1, and alternatively spelling PS1 and PS1, all the different variations. Is a smaller
You just said
redesign.
PS1 a bunch.
I know. I imagine if I say it faster all at once. So this is a smaller redesigned version of the original PlayStation platform. It was released on the 7th of July 2000 and went on to outsell all other consoles throughout the remainder of the year, including Sony's own PlayStation 2. The PS1 is fully compatible with all PlayStation software. Compatibility with certain peripherals may vary, however. The PS1 had other additional changes, including the removal of the parallel and serial ports from the rear of the console and the removal of the separate reset button. In 2002, Sony released a 5-inch LCD screen add-on for the PS1 referred to as the Combo Pack. The Combo Pack included not only the LCD screen, it will also include the LCD. Prior to the bundle's release, the LCD screen was offered as a separate attachment for the PS1 when it was initially released on September 19, 2000 as an accessory. The attachment itself features a headphone jack alongside an AV mini jack for connecting camcorders or other devices. It also included a car cigarette lighter adapter, adding an extra layer of portability. Fucking hell, man. Can you imagine the consoles doing this nowadays?
Yeah, all cars come with a USB plug these days.
No, but can you imagine a console like a Xbox
Called
carrying
the
a
Nintendo Switch.
a car? Wait, a Nintendo Switch has a car cigarette lighter?
No, but it plugs into the USB port that has replaced the cigarette lighter. Cars don't come with cigarette lighters so much anymore.
No,
They come with
no,
USB ports
no.
because
Dude,
nobody smokes.
yeah. Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. There's vapors. They're the vapors.
Yeah, they still charge off USB.
Production of
You
the
don't need to
LCD.
light your vape with a cigarette light.
Nah. Production of the LCD combo screen ceased in 2004, while the popularity of the PlayStation began to wane in markets outside Japan. A total of 28.15 million PS1 units had been sold by the time it was discontinued in March 2006. Dude, this console would have been perfect if you would have been perfect on a Tesla. Can you
Why?
imagine? Can you imagine putting this on the front screen of your Tesla while the kids can play? Kids are playing at the back with the controllers. That would be so cool.
I see.
I
But why
mean,
is it got to be a Tesla?
I'm
There are
thinking
other
of,
cars with screens.
I know, I'm just thinking of the most powerful electric car right now. Plus, I think Teslas are. You may disagree with me on that, and you can disagree with me
I'm
more
sure
on
they're
that.
cool until they fall apart going down the road.
Yeah. You can disagree with me all on that on our Discord channel, which we posted on our show notes.
So you've deliberately said something extremely inflammatory.
Indeed, I did.
I'm going to have to
Indeed,
do
I
so much moderation.
On the 8th of July 2025, it's the 30th anniversary of the Sega Saturn's launch in Europe. This was part of the 5th generation of video game consoles. It is the successor of the successful Genesis. The Saturn had a dual CPU architecture and 8 processors. Its games are in CD-ROM format, including several ports of arcade games and original games. The Saturn's release in Europe came before the previously announced North American date on July 8, 1995, at £399 and 99 pence. European retailers and press did not have time to promote the system or its games, harming sales. The PlayStation launched in Europe on September 29, 1995. By November, it had already outsold the Saturn by a factor of 3 in the United Kingdom, where Sony has allocated £20 million of marketing during the holiday season compared to Sega's £4 million. The Saturn is considered a commercial failure. This was affected by the cancellation of Sonic X Treme planned as the first 3D entry in Sega's popular Sonic the Hedgehog series. The Saturn was succeeded in 1998 by the Dreamcast, having sold 9.26 million units worldwide, most in Japan. The Saturn has several well-regarded games, including Night into Dreams, the Panzer de Gruen series, and the Virtua Fighter series. Although much of its library is confined to the Japanese market, where the system fared better than in the West. The Saturn's reception is mixed due to its complex hardware design and limited third-party support. Sega's management has been criticized for its decisions during the Saturn's development and discontinuation. Wait, do you ever play the Sega Saturn in your lifetime, Professor?
No, I don't think I've
No,
ever actually seen one in person.
I have. Fun console. So Professor, what's your messed up moments in nerddom this week?
Have you ever heard of Dr. Robert Liston?
No, I haven't.
Well, he's famous for a few reasons. He was the first professor of clinical surgery at University College Hospital in London in 1835. He performed the first public operation utilizing modern anesthesia and invented a bunch of different tools. He also came from a time where it was popular for doctors to not wash their clothes. They would leave it covered in their patient's blood, and they saw it as a badge of honor to show that you were a good surgeon. And apparently would demand that his patients, his spectators, so students would spectate operations. He demanded that they timed him with their watches while he performed amputations. The quote is, "Everyone swore that the first flash of his knife was followed so swiftly by the rasp of saw on bone that sight and sound seemed simultaneous. To free both hands, he would clasp the bloody knife between his teeth."
Sounds like some anime protagonist, like I am the fastest knife in the West.
Yeah, while you were off playing, he studied the blade to the point that he could perform an amputation in 2.5 minutes, which
Wow.
was his most famous case. An amputation that took 2.5 minutes. The patient died later from gangrene because I've just described the quality of the sanitation to you.
Shit.
He accidentally amputated his assistant's fingers, who was holding the leg that was amputated. The assistant died of gangrene.
What the fuck?
And while I assume waving the knife around like a madman, he nicked the coattails of a spectator who was so terrified that he had been cut, he died of shock.
What the fuck?
It's the only surgery with a 300% mortality rate. Now, there's no primary sources that say that this surgery ever took place, but that doesn't matter. It's a good story.
This guy would make the Hippocratic Oath look like look like paper. Oh fuck.
Oh, it was do no harm. I thought it was do harm.
Yeah, I remember the good. I think the whole spectator thing lasted for a long, long time as well, if I recall.
Yeah, well, students have to learn somehow.
Fuck. Imagine you're the spectator, you die. You die from that.
And you weren't even physically harmed.
Imagine you do this in the current in the current times. Like, how many courts do you have to go through, and how many inquiries you have to go through as well?
Yeah, I do wonder if this case is indeed real, what sort of results it had.
Yeah, with a 300% mortality rate. Man, no, I wonder how many countries had that type of mortality rate.
Well, hospitals have never, like, until fairly recently, hospitals were never great places. Like, there was a huge argument specifically over washing your hands in between patients. Doctors would go straight from one woman who had just given birth to another, and then were surprised when both mothers died of disease. And when
Yeah,
somebody, I've forgotten what his name was, but when somebody said, you know what, maybe we should wash our hands, they tried to have him committed to an insane asylum.
yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. It was yeah. I had to study that at uni at one point. It was the start of implementation science as a course. Well, no, it was a good course, might I
Okay.
add. The country. Okay, here's country with the highest death rate. This is per 1,000 people, according to the United Nations in 2020, from 2020 to 2025. The country with the highest death rate, Bulgaria, with 15.6. Yeah, 15.6 deaths per 1,000 people.
Okay, don't go to hospital in Bulgaria.
And they said the causes of death in Bulgaria are similar to those in other European countries, including non-communicable diseases, such as diseases of the circulatory, digestive, or respiratory systems, and cancers. It's currently experiencing a population decline, having started about 9 million in 2000 and expected to fall between 2.8 and 5 million by the year 2100. So yeah, Jesus Christ, this doctor, not even this doctor could beat Bulgaria's death rate. So on to our wacky movie. On the 10th of July 2013, The World's End premiered. You've seen this movie, haven't you, Professor?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Not as much as Shaun of the Dead, but it was still enjoyable.
So, on this day in 2013, in the United Kingdom, the City of London played host to the big screen theatrical premiere of The World's End. Written in part and directed by Edgar Wright, the film starred Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Martin Freeman, and others. Here's the plot summary. 5 friends who reunite in an attempt to top their epic pub crawl from 20 years earlier unwittingly become humanity's only hope for survival. The World's End originated as a screenplay by writer-director Edgar Wright in 1995 at the age of 21, titled Crawl, about a group of teenagers on a pub crawl. He later realized the idea could work with adult characters to capture, quote, the bittersweet feeling of returning to your hometown and feeling like a stranger. Wright also said he wanted to satirize the, quote, strange homogeneous branding that becomes like a virus, explaining this doesn't just extend to pubs. It's just the same as cafes and restaurants. If you live in a small town and you move to London, which I did when I was 20, then when you go back into the other small towns in London, you go, oh my god, it's all the same. It's like body snatchers. Literally, our towns are being changed to death.
Yeah, there's also some interesting commentary in there about what gives your life meaning.
Yeah, in an interview for Entertainment Weekly, Peg told Clark Collis, "People think we choose the genre first every time, and it's not true. We find the stories first. The notion of alienation from your hometown taken to its literal conclusion was how we got to the science fiction." Interesting. After the story was complete, Wright and Peg examined the list of real pub names and, quote, tried to make them like tarot cards to foreshadow the events of the story. Wright explained, so we said, okay, this one's the famous cock, because this is where Gary is trying to puff up his own importance. We did go through and work out in each one how the pub sign was going to relate. All 12 pubs in the films use identical signage on menus and walls, reflecting on what Wright called that fake handwritten chalk, common to modern British pubs and Australian pubs, man. You see that as well in the pubs here?
Yeah.
The exteriors of the real pubs were shot at locations of Willowin Garden City and Letchwood Garden City, where with altered signage. Letchwood Garden City railway station received a makeover to become the, quote, hole in the wall. Stunts were coordinated by Brad Allen of martial arts film director Jackie Chan's stunt team. Wright said, in Drunken Master, Jackie Chan had to get drunk to fight, but this is more the idea of Dutch courage. You know you're kind of drunk and you think, I could climb up that scaffolding, or you're just impervious to pain. One of the things you've talked about is this idea that characters have become better fighters the more oil they get. As this is the conclusion of the Cornetto trilogy, the characters eat peppermint with chocolate chip ice cream, which the Cornetto green wrapper represents. According to Edgar Wright, green represents science fiction extraterrestrial elements, which was the main motif in the film. For Wright's other film, Shaun of the Dead, used red and strawberry flavor, symbolizing blood and zombies. Hot Fuzz had blue and vanilla, symbolizing the police. That's very inventive. I
Yeah,
love
a
that.
cute little continuity thing.
Yeah. No, Edgar Wright admitted that there's a lot of thought went into the costumes of the characters. Some of the clothes foreshadow what happens to the characters in the film. Peter and Oliver wear blue, foreshadowing that they will become blanks. And Steven and Sam wear red, foreshadowing that they will become a couple. Gary dresses in the same outfit as his teenager self as an homage to a way a soldier might, quote, suit up before going into battle or committing suicide. And also early in the film, when Oliver is on the phone with his sister Sam, he teasingly asks, "You got lost on the ring road again?" Much later in the film, she says she's late because she got lost on the ring road.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that one comes up as trivia. That's
Maybe
just a
that's just,
character saying what happened.
I was more of a goof. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. All right. Anyways, that's all we have for this week. Check out on our social media and Spotify and all and YouTube. Stay happy, stay nerdy. See you guys.
Look after yourself, stay hydrated, and we'll see you next time.